something I was super naive about is, just looking at those numbers, it's like, okay, again, just being somebody at home watching, like, oh, what's the big deal? But when you phrase it in the sense that most turf managers have the opportunity of 7 to 10 days of recovery after a home match before they see another event on their field, and you guys were going back to back, sometimes, in some cases having 2 in one day, that I think really framed it for me, where I'm like, wow, how did this happen? And again, just really, your tagline is, grass can take more. And that definitely hits at home. Is like, these high traffic fields. How did you guys, manage that? You just gave us the schedule end of it, but what kind of cultural best practices did you put into place, or lessons did you learn that other people could possibly, put into practice on their field, no matter the budget they're working with?
Yeah, it's a great question, because it's, the things that we did learn, and I've said this. I've said this to a few folks publicly that, when we talk about grass can take more, we still have never been able to convince a client or been able to convince another field manager to essentially, let's play as many matches as we possibly can and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just so we can push the limits. We get from professors to field managers, either one, that say, it's impossible to put in an unlimited amount of play on a field, or it's impossible to put 15 matches in 16 days on a field at the professional level. So we had all these concepts, and we had this background, and, really it's kind of what we do. So everything that we've brainstormed, and anything that we've ever said, hey, I think that would work, we were able to put that into practice.
Exactly.
And and really kind of comprehend, or test out theories that previously we weren't able to test out, because it's it's such a different magnitude of matches at one time. And that sheet that we were looking at kind of referenced the number of data points that we collected through this event. And I think that's really one of the key things of overall, the way we made this work is to really try to focus on data, and really focus on service testing, and kind of trusting a data process. I mean, one way I described it was that, previously, the way we would have went into this, or the way I would have described it, is to say, when somebody asks me, what was your maintenance program? Well, put on a blindfold and, line up with a dartboard and start throwing darts. Yep. And, but with this many matches, then turn around backwards and try to throw darts at that dartboard. It's just like, what in the world are we trying to prove here? Or what are we going to be able to prove is really what it comes down to. So it really was unique in that standpoint of, how do we make this work? And like I said, it really came to data and testing. We did a lot of surface testing, and we did a lot of just data collection in general, just to be able to try to eliminate what I would call, let's say, guessing. What are the actual conditions on the field currently, and how do we address them? How do we change them? How do we quantify them in a way that we can actually impact them, and make real change, make a real impact. So I was gonna show you. Let's see. Sorry about this.
No problem.
Little difficulty, but I'll just just to give an example as we're talking about that, because I think it's really helpful for us to be able to do that, to put it into, we put it into, when we go out and collect data points each day. Essentially, this is a compaction map of one of the fields as we were going through the event. And this is actually surface compaction. So essentially what we're seeing here is high traffic through the middle, which we were predicting, we were expecting that. That's kind of what we understand. Goal mouth on both ends. Along the bench area, we also, there's a lot of cart traffic just from the ESPN production, because
Gotcha.
these, essentially these fields were, I referenced it, that one field was just for 9 a.m. matches. These fields were essentially turned into giant television studios. Mm-hmm. So really, the production, from a production standpoint, there's so much traffic. And then this day we'd actually gotten, this was a day that we'd gotten a couple of teams to go the other side and warm up.
Okay, nice.
So that caused this compaction on the other side. So we have an absolute, straightaway blueprint of exactly what it is that we're trying to address. Mm-hmm. And that was what helped us, essentially if you want to say, eliminate the guessing on what's going on with the field surface and what is it that we need to address. Now, you hit on it. Traditionally, what we would do to these areas is, if they accumulate any compaction whatsoever, is we would put an air fire on, like a Pro Core or Air Core, open as much surface area as we can, get those, even just with solid tines, get a 2x2 inch spacing with solid tines that are, say, 5/8 of an inch solid tines. You can open 8% of the surface. That would reduce this surface compaction and bring it back into line with the rest of the pitch. We never, we didn't have the time, and I don't say this as an excuse. In reality, we just did not have the time to do that, because we couldn't soften the surface anymore, because we were playing on the fields every single day or every other day. So traditional thinking kind of had to go out the window, and we turned to machines like the Air 2 G2, really a big help. Humic acid to kind of flocculate the soil particles a little bit. Those types of things. There's products that are essentially stabilized oxygen, if you will, to that essentially give a flush of kind of, once it hits water, it gives a flush oxygen through the root system. And we had to do things like that because we couldn't use traditional methods where we would actually soften the surface too much. Mm-hmm. Because I posted a picture on Twitter, just the sheer number of cleat marks that you get after we were playing back-to-back matches. We play an 8 p.m. match, and we play a 10:30 p.m. match each night. And they essentially just rotated back and forth from one field to the other. You put essentially you put 4 professional matches in 3 days. It's a hell of a lot of cleat marks on the field. Yeah. It's like we don't want to do anything extra to soften that surface more, because we don't exactly know what might actually be next. And the other thing we did is, this is an example. This is an AI sensor from a company called Intelligent Play. They do some work with field turf, which this device actually won the, I believe it was the STMA Innovation Award, maybe last year, with their collaboration, Intelligent Play's collaboration with Field Turf for monitoring synthetic fields. We've been working with Intelligent Play on monitoring grass fields. So after each day of play, or essentially from at any point, we could actually see a heat map of what was going on in real time on the pitch to be able to know. So essentially we could compare the traffic data to the compaction data, and then to the soil moisture data, we had all this information that we were able to overlay and understand what is going on and why it was going on. Mm-hmm. So we had a better understanding of what was causing it and how we fix it. Because if we have a better understanding of why it's there and how it's there, then that gives us kind of a whole line of solutions. And that's really one thing that when we deal with a situation like this, that there's so much going on in an event like this, and it's so busy. I just gave an example that, we have compaction, but we would like to go out with a Pro Core or Air Core, but we can't because we would soften it too much. Well, you can find a problem for every single solution when you're in a situation like this. Mm-hmm. But it's our job. It was my job as from an MLS side, and it was Tim and Tommy and John's job from a ESPN side, for us to put our heads together and say, what is the solution? Because the solution couldn't be, we're not going to address it, because if we didn't address it, then the field was going to wear and the field was going to come apart. Mm-hmm. And essentially, there's no wrong answer, if you will. You can find something wrong with a lot of different things, but you have to find a solution. And that was the situation we were placed in. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like anything I've ever been a part of, because the answer couldn't be no. It had to be, well, we need to figure it out. And that was, it's a whole nother level of pressure, especially when you think about that first 16 days. We played 36 matches in 16 days. Mm-hmm. We had a 9 a.m. match. Essentially the team started prepping for that, by 4 a.m., 5 a.m. The last match didn't end until 12:30 or 1 a.m. I essentially didn't leave for those 16 days. And I know I definitely slept good when I got home at the end of the event.
Even with a new baby, that's impactful that you were able to sleep good.
yeah, that's to be away from home for 59 days when you have a 4-month-old. When I left, she was 4 months old. That was definitely hard, but
it's another element of the whole craziness.